Mr. Ambassador, first of all, thank you for the interview.
I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for your interest.
Mr. Ambassador, the first question is about your visit to DC. What is the purpose of your visit to the United States and particularly to DC?
My visit here in DC is a follow-on to my what we call the diaspora tour, where I visited with Armenian American communities for a couple of weeks on the West Coast, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and then on the East Coast, Boston and New York. And then following that, now I'm in Washington, D.C., and met with a group of people interested in Armenia yesterday at the Library of Congress. The purpose is basically to do three things. The purpose is to inform the American people who are very interested in Armenia what we at the embassy are doing, what we think about events in Armenia. So to provide information is first. Second is to hear from them and to listen to them, what they're interested in and what they think we should be doing better. And then third is to look for partnerships. What we do at the embassy is to try to find good partners to work with us and work with the Armenian people to help Armenia succeed. So partnership is really what the main purpose was.
What do you mean saying partnership? This in economic issues, in investments?
Well, partnership is, of course, a broad term, and the first priority, I think, would be economics. We need to improve the economies of both countries, the United States and Armenia, so we are always looking for mutually beneficial economic opportunities, trade and investment. One of the things we did in San Francisco, we visited, the Prime Minister was there as well, Prime Minister Sargsyan was there as well. We went to the Armtech conference, and the Armtech conference was tremendous opportunity for the U.S. Industry, U.S. information technology industry to demonstrate with the Armenian IT industry what we're doing together and the great work that we're doing together to build that industry in Armenia. So first is economics and trade, investment, but also in other issues as well, human rights and women's rights, environmental issues. There are all sorts of areas where we should be partnering, I think, more deeply with the Armenian people.
Let's talk about Millennium Challenge. Do you think that there is any chance to have the second compact of Millennium Challenge for Armenia? As we heard, these final steps are going on in Georgia. So what about Armenia?
Armenia's first compact was a huge success. The water projects, $150-some million water projects, irrigation projects, recently concluded, and when the MCC came out to view the projects, they were very happy with the implementation of the project and very pleased with the way that part of the first compact was implemented. So that's good news. Each year, countries all over the world compete for these compacts. The first step in the competition is an assessment of a number of indicators, 13 or so indicators, in a number of areas: health, education, human rights, governance, anti-corruption issues. There's a competition among possible recipients for these 13 areas of competency. And if a country passes these indicators, then that country can compete for an actual compact. But the first step is to pass the indicators in these 13 areas. Unfortunately, Armenia came up a bit short. It was close, but came up a bit short in the critical indicator, which is the anti-corruption indicator. Didn't quite meet the threshold that was necessary to allow Armenia to compete for a second compact. So the long and short of it is this year.
A year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, this
right?
last year. Yeah. Last year. So as of right now, Armenia is not eligible to compete for a second compact. We are working closely with the government and with the civil society and with businesses to improve Armenia's governance and improve its record in this area. We've seen some progress, and we will continue to see progress. So we're hopeful that very soon Armenia can compete for a second compact.
So you see any progress?
Sure, yeah. Absolutely. There's progress. We've seen a lot of progress on elections and progress in a number of areas, but also in the governance area. The World Bank every year puts out a report that assesses countries on the ease of doing business in a country, and Armenia went up 18 places to, I forgot, 38 or something. So pretty high up on the list. It's a worldwide indicator of how countries are doing to attract businesses and to make it easy for businesses to do business. So Armenia has made progress and will continue to make progress. So we're hopeful that very soon it will be able to compete for a second compact. But this year it will not be eligible to compete.
Okay. What what are you expecting from the presidential elections? I mean, this process, how do you see it?
Presidential elections in February are obviously critical for Armenia. We followed very carefully the May parliamentary elections. Our message was a level playing field, free and fair elections, free, fair, credible elections require a level playing field, access to the media, free and transparent voting, no misuse of public resources on behalf of ruling coalition parties. Those were our messages in during the May campaign. And there were some successes, I have to say. There were some improvements, especially in the area of access to the media. I talked to all the opposition party leaders, and they all said that during the May elections there was unprecedented access to the national media by opposition and independent voices. So that was the best news from the May elections. Also, the polling places were well run, were transparent, well run, a lot of observers all over the country. All the parties had proxies and poll watchers to make sure that nothing inappropriate was done in the polling places. So I think the polling places were also a good news story from the May elections. The two areas that are still a problem, though, of course, are the vote buying and this idea of the administrative resources, to make sure there's a firewall between the public sector and the partisan politics. And we've done some work in that area. The OSCE has issued some recommendations to the government. The government is going to implement those recommendations. So we're hopeful that the presidential elections will be even better than the May parliamentary elections.
If a president is elected in Armenia democratically, 100% democratically, will there be any change in the approach, U.S. approach towards Armenia, political?
Well, Armenia's democracy is very important to our bilateral relationship, and to be a real partner with a country, you really have to share values. A true partnership is based on shared values, and I think we do share values with Armenia, both on the democracy side and the governance side. I think the issue is always implementation. I think the values are there. The question is the implementation and the political will to make tough decisions in these two really sensitive areas. So we're going to continue to watch. There's no elections ever perfect. U.S. elections are not perfect. So no one's expecting perfect elections. We're just we hope for continued progress to deepen this partnership, and we think that's going to happen. We're confident that that's going to happen.
I think most of the questions in diaspora were related to Nagorno-Karabakh and Turkey, right?
Well, I was actually, they weren't actually. A lot of questions, of course, about history, about Turkey, about Nagorno-Karabakh, Azerbaijan, absolutely. Lots of questions, and you heard some yesterday at the Library of Congress. But I was pleased that there was a lot of interest. There is a lot of interest among the Armenian American community in what's happening in Armenia today. A lot of questions about the current domestic situation, women's rights, economics, jobs, all sorts of questions, many questions about how the Armenian American community can help Armenia today. And I was most gratified by that the Armenian American community wants to be involved and wants to help. Yes, clearly questions about regional issues and historical issues, and I did my best to respond to those questions. But the focus in the future, I think, for our relationship is on the internal situation and how the two countries and the two people can work together.
Do you see any prospect for Nagorno-Karabakh negotiations, and any progress will be seen during this year or not?
Well, in my meetings this last couple of weeks, I was not able to report a lot of progress, frankly. But I think it is important to note that the process is important. The process of keeping the parties at the table and keeping them talking and keeping them searching for creative solutions to this very difficult problem, the process is important. And the process, these 18 years, has prevented the outbreak of large-scale hostilities, and so that there's something to be said for the process. Clearly, though, the status quo is not acceptable to either side. And so we're going to continue to be engaged. President Obama's team and the new team will remain committed at the highest level to doing what we can, what the United States can do to promote and push for a peaceful resolution of Nagorno-Karabakh. So yes, we, the United States, continue to be committed to this, and we're going to keep at it no matter how long it takes.
Armenians are very concerned about Aliyev's rhetorics about starting a new war, with solving this problem with force. And Armenia is, many officials stated for several times that we have the strongest army in the region. Do you think this is leading us to a war?
The Minsk group, the three co-chairs, the United States, Russia, and France, when our leaders meet, they always consider and they always discuss, virtually always discuss Nagorno-Karabakh among themselves, sometimes with the parties as well. And at every one of these meetings, and there's been a number of them recently at Deauville and other places, the leaders have made strong statements. The U.S., Russia, and France, the presidents themselves, have made strong statements about rhetoric. The rhetoric, we need to end the bellicose, belligerent rhetoric. No arms sales that would be destabilizing, arms purchases that would be destabilizing. So all these statements are very consistent and very strong messages. That for this to work, for this process to succeed, both sides need to come to the table without the hostile rhetoric, without the destabilizing actions and provocative actions. And again, we're going to continue to push this privately with them, with each capital, but also in these public statements.
Do you in this regard have any contacts with the U.S. Embassy in Baku?
Sure.
Yeah?
Absolutely. They're on my team. U.S. Embassy in Baku is on my team. We're on the same side. So yeah, I work with Ambassador Morningstar regularly, and he was here actually in Washington for some of the time that I was here. We had a number of meetings. We were on the Hill together. We met with with some Senate staffers together to present the U.S. views in the region. So, we're in regular contact with Embassy Baku, Embassy Tbilisi, Embassy Ankara. Absolutely.
So he tried to visit Armenian cemeteries.
Julfa, right.
Julfa. He didn't allow him to go there. Is there any change and any another approach or something being done by the U.S. Embassy in Baku to try to go there?
Ambassador Morningstar did go to Nakhichevan. He did request, as you said, to visit the Julfa site to see for himself the destruction that was done, the very, very unfortunate and unacceptable destruction that was done. And they didn't let him go. They said for security reasons he couldn't go. So they made it impossible for him to go, and he made a statement to that effect. They didn't prevent him from going, but they made it, their actions made it impossible really for him to go safely.
So what is being done?
Well, he continues to raise. Well, he continues to raise the cultural issue, and I raise it as well. I mean, there both sides have had issues in these very, very unfortunate things have been done. And so he continues to raise this, and the preservation of cultural and religious artifacts in Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia, all very, very important to all countries and to humanity. So totally unacceptable for these kinds of religious and historic and cultural artifacts to be destroyed, and U.S. government is on record to that effect, and will continue to push all sides to honor the histories and the religious beliefs and culture of all the parties.
What is being done with the rapprochement between Armenia and Turkey by the embassy? Does the embassy do anything in this period of time after the not ratification of the protocols? Yeah.
Well, the secretary was pretty clear. Secretary Clinton visited Yerevan, her second visit actually in her time as sitting Secretary of State. Unprecedented high-level attention to Armenia by Secretary Clinton and the Obama administration. She visited in June, and she was very clear again in public that the ball's in Turkey's court on the protocols, and she raises it with her counterpart, and the president has raised it with the prime minister and the president as well. So the protocols are the game changer. The way this is going to work, I think, is still through the protocols, and we, the U.S. government, continue to push this at every opportunity. But we're not going to wait for that. We're going to continue to look for other opportunities to bring the two countries together.
Progress, or it is
I don't see much progress on the protocols, unfortunately, because Turkey has linked them to progress on Nagorno-Karabakh. So that's unfortunate. That wasn't they were not signed on that basis. So we're going to continue to push for Turkey to do the right thing on this. But in the meantime, we're going to look for other opportunities to bring the sides together. The railroad, fiber optic cable. There are a number of economic measures that could be done. That would help both countries. And we also have an active program of cross-cultural, cross-border exchanges, and we're going to continue that as well. So we at the embassy level are going to do whatever we can to bring the people together and to break down this mistrust. At the national level, the capitals are going to continue to discuss the big policy issues like the protocols. But we haven't given up on this at all. We think that the opening that border is really important for both countries and would really be a game changer in the region.
What is the biggest problem in Armenia from your point of view?
The biggest problem in Armenia, there are lots of challenges in any country. Lots of challenges in any country. I think the Armenia's problems, the regional problems are well known. You've just identified some. Having two of your borders closed when you're a landlocked country and two of the four borders are closed. One of the other borders is Iran, a problematic border from the international community's perspective. We don't want a lot of trade, certainly across that border. So the fact that Armenia has few options in the region, it's really important for Armenia to be reintegrated into the region, and that's where, again, the protocols and the resolution of Nagorno-Karabakh are key. Domestically, I think the biggest problem is the concentration of economic power in a few hands, and I think that we'll continue to work to stimulate entrepreneurship so that small and medium-sized companies, that's where the real growth comes. That's where the jobs come, is from the small and the medium-sized companies. So we're going to continue to promote that in the IT sector and tourism and food processing and other sectors, so that the economy can grow, can open up a bit, and again, will be good for the Armenian people, and I think good for the region and good for the American people as well.
What is being done, or is anything being done by the U.S. Embassy in Armenia about integration of our Armenian economy to the regional economies? You know that pipelines do not pass through Armenia, railroads do not pass through Armenia. Is there any chance to use this shortest way?
Well, the shortest way is a straight line. You're right about that, and having these kinks in the pipelines and railroads is very unfortunate. Again, the idea is to get the solution is to get the borders open, and we're going to continue to promote that and push that at every opportunity. Where we can find a specific project that would work, again, like the fiber optic cable, we're going to do that, and we're talking to both governments and companies who are interested in negotiating that fiber optic cable to get that open. And also in railroads, as you said, are really critical to get those open. And we're talking again to the relevant parties to see if the railroads could be open as well.
Yesterday, speaking about the Syrian Armenians, you said that there was no request from Armenian government for helping them. If you get a request from the government, what will the embassy do?
Well, the embassy will send that back to Washington. We'll have to sort it out. I mean, I don't answer hypotheticals. I don't know. We have a close relationship with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of the Diaspora, and they're not bashful. They talk to us all the time, and when they want to cooperate with us in some way, they come to us quite regularly. So we talk to them all the time, and at some point, if some kind of a mutually beneficial project emerges, some way where we can help Armenia and help the refugees, I'm sure Washington would consider that. So we'll keep talking about it, and if something emerges where we could be useful, I'm sure Washington would consider that. The whole question of Syria, the refugees, the Syrian Armenian community is a very high priority for Washington, and so we'll work with them and do what we can.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for this interview. Would you like to add anything?
No, Aram, thank you for your interest in this. The diaspora tour has been very important to connect to the Armenian American community here, and I really appreciated the way they offered to be helpful. At every stop, they said, how can we be helpful? And we're going to find ways for them to do that in the trade and investment area, but also I'm hopeful that they can support civil society and the independent press in Armenia. That's what I think was a bit of a new idea for them to be more directly involved in civil society and the independent media in Armenia. So we're going to continue to look for partners here and in Armenia, and I'm confident that we'll continue to have some success.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your interest.